Today, we're just going to get right into it as I do my best to dissect another book. That's right, your favorite talking head is going to do his best to recommend or not recommend the Aether Rebellion. Did I say that right? The Aether Rebellion, I think is how they want to pronounce it, by A.J. Wolfe, coming out on May 2nd. I got an advance copy just to let you guys know if it's good or not. Hi, I'm your host, Chris Humphrey. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm just another talking head on the internet doing his best to give you my opinion that I hope you value so that you can go out and give me your opinion down below. Today, it's the Aether Rebellion by A.J. Wolfe, coming soon, and it's a sci-fi book. Brought me to this book was the premise. I like the idea of the premise, which is very simple. It's about four neighborhoods in what seems like a large city is uh, is basically taking people and it's classed them first class, second class, third class, and fourth class with a little bit of the role reversal, whereas the poorest people are in the fourth class and there's not many of them. And each section one, two, three, and four, each section after three, two, and one, they each have more people in them and more wealth in section one, which is kind of cool because in most sci-fi dystopian worlds, usually there's more poor people than there are rich people, kind of like there is in real life. But this book decided to go against the grain and go with less poor people, which is kind of cool. Uh, basically, to break it down, is when you turn by the age of 18, it's a young adult book. By the age of 18, you will have developed the powers of either to control the earth, the wind, the fire, or water. And you end up being called an elemental. If you're able to control more of them or all of them, you get the higher power of the ether, sorry. And that's the premise of the book. I'm gonna start with the bad first, and then I'm going to be nice to the writer, and then I'm going to give you the good. And then, of course, at the end, if you stay till the end, my opinion on it and where I rank it on this year's novels. To start off with the bad, and I don't even have to go through the reviews, but I guarantee if people have made reviews on it yet, they're not going to like a couple things. The first thing that they're not going to like is one, it's a little tad long. Young adults, young people in particular, and just people now don't have a lot of time. They don't read a lot like they used to. I can tell you right now it's a longer book, so you may or may not like that. But I don't mind. I like reading. I've liked reading since I was a kid, and now I get to do it here in front of you guys. I like the longer books. For sci fi, it sort of makes sense. In this case, she's building a world. And from what I understand, this is going to be a 7 book series, and I can't wait for the next one. But she's building her world, and sci fi, you get a little technical, and it's going to come with a little bit more, right? What people aren't going to like again is that she repeats a little bit when it comes to the eyeballs. I guarantee people didn't like that part because she talks about the pupils and says the words over and over again. Basically, when people are about to control their power, their eyes turn silver or uh, the veins in their body turn black, which is kind of cool. Personally, I don't mind it, but I can tell you the world is not going to be nice to the writer and going to tell her, too much of that. She needed a proofread editor. That's fine. What she did is she got better as the pages turned. And that's all you're looking for in a debut novelist, right? She's not going to go out there and hit a home run right off the bat, right? It takes time to become a very good writer, right? I can name books of starting series where, it's not very good. I'm looking at you, Harry Potter, and I'm looking at you, The Dark Towers, the first books aren't very good, but they build the world, and then you keep coming back to them. And that's what she's done here. She built the world. Um, Maybe another thing you're not going to like is that some of the characters repeat their angst and their problems a little bit too much, like Frasier and Damien, right? Their past, or Natalia, right? Maybe you're not going to like that, but what she's doing is she's setting you up for what's going to happen in the future, and that's foreshadowing. That's foreshadowing 101. You're gonna do that in any book. You're going to see that in any book. And in this case, she's just trying to show you the pain behind it. Um, that's really all I have to complain about personally, which is, you can see, is not a whole lot. But I guarantee, I bet you $100, everybody else has probably already said the same thing. I'm not going to say anything new in that regards. Maybe I'm going to say the book was a lot like a roller coaster or something like that, where it had its ups and downs, and that's the case where one chapter would hook you in, you'd be like, great, and then the next chapter was just too long and it kind of lose focus. But I stayed through to the end and I finished it there. For the good parts of this book, and there are a lot of good parts, is she's very good at describing things and being technical. Some people might see that as a fault because some people want to imagine things in their head, but what she's doing is she's describing things to you in the way that she wants you to understand them, and she does a good job at detailing that information, and that's going to make it easier for the next six books because then she won't have to. But she's doing it. I wanted to learn more about the lore, and I bet you we're going to get that in the next books with however she's going to do it. What I really liked is her short chapters, where I felt she was really at home writing this is on the short chapters. So the chapter titled Feast, I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think it was 13, 18, or 19, maybe even 15. But I know chapter 12, 15, 17, 19, 34, and things like that. They're short and they're very condensed. And that's where her writing is at its peak because she's able to get her point across and do it in maybe 5 to 10 pages. And it was great. I liked Feast a lot because it actually showed that she can write a little bit of comedy. And comedy in writing and acting is just a little bit harder to portray because it's a little more subjective. But this is a sci fi book, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm not really a sci fi book fan. My uncle was. I prefer, I guess, more of the fantasy world, maybe like a Hobbit or Lord of the Rings type or an Isaac Asimov type book. But sci-fi is not my major focus. Thriller or romance is probably where I'm going to be in there. But she kept me intrigued because those short chapters did some things where I'm like, hey, you know what? Uh, this was great, and the fight scenes in there were not too convoluted with technical details. I liked it. I liked her short chapters because she was able to condense her writing down, and that's where she did great. The longer chapters, she lost me a little bit, but that's it. I liked the premise enough to keep it along. I liked the idea that you get tested until your powers developed, and then usually by the age of 18 they do. And then there's some people more advanced, and some people that aren't, that have the control of the elementals. Really cool idea. I like the journey that she built. If you're a fan of the Hunger Games or the Last Airbender or even the Lord of the Rings, because the Lord of the Rings is about a journey, you're probably going to like this book. Maybe the Divergent series, or um, those are like three or four of the books that I can think of. But if I compare it to movies or and other books like Logan's Run or The Island, like I could see where she got a lot of her her lore ideas from, and that's great. Beginning author, you take from the authors you know, and you do it the way that you want to do it because you think it will be cool, and it was really cool there. And I think that's what people are going to enjoy is that there is a world here, and she builds up to it. I'm not going to spoil much because I'm trying to avoid spoilers because there is a lot of detail in this book that you have to be careful for. All I can say personally without spoiling much is why are old women always the bane of all our issues, right? They're always the bane of all our um, bane of all our existence and always ruin everything and make us do things we don't want to do. Yes, I'm talking about my mother. Don't Freudian me on that one. But yes, old women are always the reason we're doing things that we do. Um, but yes, I liked it. I liked the whole Star Wars rebellion type thing where you got to take it down. Like I said, I could see the Hunger Games in it. She did a good job, right? As for the writer herself, this is her first book, from what I understand, and she's going to write seven more. You got better each page. You're a very technical writer, and that does well in sci-fi. What I would suggest personally is don't write the next book if you've already started it. Write something else, and that's not a bad thing. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. You're a very technical writer, very good at descriptions. Maybe do like a space sci-fi, maybe even a short story of going to Mars or building other planets, like a Star Trek or a Star Wars thing, because I think that's where your technical writing can be very good. You got better. Your juvenile habits got better with each page, so you stop repeating yourself and things like that. And that's a good thing in a debut novelist. You're only going to get better. So my suggestion is maybe write something different like Christopher Moore does. He writes a first book of his trilogy, and then he stops, writes another book of another trilogy, stops, then goes to write another book of another trilogy, and then goes back to that first trilogy. And that's maybe what I would suggest doing, because then when you go back to book two or three, wherever you stopped, then you get an idea of the world, and your writing has gotten better. And it did, and it's going to. So please, I beg of you, continue to write because we need more writers. Since unfortunately, uh, AI is going to take over and we're going to lose our jobs. But please write more because you're going to keep getting better. And I'm interested to see what you do with the world and the different cities and what's to come with Damien and everybody, Vane and Ren and all of them. I want to see where you're going to build to, and you will. Uh, I know you guys wait for the bitter end. I'm going to rate this a 6.5. I liked it. Uh, the long parts kind of dragged on a little bit. I preferred her short parts because she was able to show you why she's a better writer than most of us because she got it condensed down. 6.5 is not bad. Please go out there and read it. Go down and tell me when you do and tell me what you liked about it and what you didn't like. Maybe you had the same problems as me. Maybe you had different ones. Maybe you liked her long chapters and maybe you wanted more of them and less of the short ones. And maybe you just felt the writing wasn't there. But I did. And I see a bright future for Miss AJ Wolfe. You can see where I ranked it on the books I've read so far. Not many. I'm going to come out with another one next week. But this one was on the Aether Rebellium by AJ Wolfe, coming to you on May 2nd. Please check it out. If I don't see you guys again, I'd like to say good to Morgan, good to Nobden, and good to Knock. Ciao. Producer, play my music. Thanks, guys.